This is Heart to Heart podcast hosted by Lena Kevlani. Artazar.com, online art gallery.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Heart to Heart podcast. This is Lena Kevlani from Artazar.com, online art gallery. So these next few podcasts, I want to highlight some of the youth that are living in the city. And first and foremost, I would like to welcome Sanchi Singla. Hi, Sanchi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
So Sanchi is a 14-year-old student who is studying at DIA Emirates Hills. And one of the things that inspired me from Sanchi is she actually, in the summer of this year, 2023, went to the base camp of Mount Everest. Right, Sanchi?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's very, very inspiring. Something I've always wanted to do.
Wow,
but I guess you're going to inspire me to do it, huh?
Yeah.
So Sanchi, tell the listeners a bit about yourself.
So obviously, my name is Sanchi. I'm 14 years old. I have a younger sister and two parents, my mom and my dad. I love writing and reading and, well, I don't like studying, but I have to do it.
We all did.
And surprisingly, I am not that much into sports, and yet I did EBC. But
That is amazing. Because I would have actually asked you if you were into, cross country, you were into sports.
No, I am not the sporty kid. My younger sister is.
So what inspired you to undertake this challenge of reaching Mount Everest base camp at such a young age? I mean, you were saying you're not sporty, but yet you've gone all the way there where a lot of people have failed.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting story, actually. So my dad, he called me into the guest room once. He was just sitting there. He said, Sanchi, do you want to climb Everest? I laughed at him and I was like, that's funny. And then I realized that he was being serious. And then he sat me down and he told me, no, not actually Everest Base Camp. And then I was still like, how am I going to do that? I'm not sporty. How do you expect me to do that? And it was not the fact that he was talking about Everest. It was the fact that he thought I could do it. Sanchi, I was not even the sporty kid. That was my younger sister. And basically, he said that he wanted to do it with me. He wanted to have this experience with me. And that inspired me, his will to be able to achieve such big dreams. He helped me. And that's what inspired me. And my mom, then she also joined us. And it was just, with the family I wanted to go. The fact that my dad, he had faith in me that I could do it. He tells me to this day that dream big, but make sure you can achieve it. Do something to achieve it. Do something big, do something unimaginable, but do it. And that's basically what pushed me to do EBC.
I love dads because I'm a dad's girl. Everyone knows this. And my dad says similar things but your dream big, but work hard towards your dream because nothing comes like that.
Yeah.
You'll achieve, you need that will.
Yeah, you need the will
belief,
and the work.
And to continue dreaming big when you might think you might give up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sanchi, what physical and mental training did you undergo to prepare for this adventure? And most importantly, how did you balance training with your school and social life? All of you teenagers have a huge social life.
Yeah.
And your school load is far greater than what I had.
Yeah, that's true. So, that's actually a very good question. During the first month or so, I didn't actually pay that much attention to Everest Base Camp. I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't think it was, that serious. And then, my mom helped me realize that yes, it's a very big thing. It's actually a huge deal and it's going to be very hard, because at that point, I'm usually a good student and usually I think I got overconfident. I was paying too much attention to my grades rather than actually training. So I would usually just train once a week and not even for an hour, just 45 minutes. And then my mom told me that, I do have to get serious. She showed me some articles, which I didn't actually get around to reading, but I did get the gist of it. And then I started, exercising and training and going to the gym more often, 1 hour every day. And basically there was this system that, you know, if you exercise then you get too tired to move, and then when that happened, I would study because I wouldn't be able to move anyway. So I just sat down and studied, and when I was getting too stressed from studies, I would get up and go and exercise to take out that stress. And it was a good system. And whenever I got like a break from studies, like, okay, exams are over, you have a few days, then I would go and balance the gym and my social life. So I did hang out. I didn't have that large of a friend group back then. I had two main friends, Mega and Yeva, and I would go out with them, you know, because they were my best friends. And then I didn't have to feel like have to use my social battery with them, and that's basically how I maintained all three aspects of my life.
That's amazing. And what about mental training? What do you feel that the change had to come through you?
I feel like so that is where my dad and my parents paid a big contribution to. So my dad told me to find my why. Why was I doing it? And he told me to make it really significant, important, because otherwise I would give up.
That's such a beautiful thing. Go on.
Yeah. Otherwise I would give up. Like, why am I doing it? I'd go there and be like, why am I actually doing this? And then just give up when it got too hard. And at first I was just like, you know, I'm doing this for uni. I need to get into a good uni. I want to get into a good uni. Just do this. It'll look good. And then I realized that it was not actually that strong. In that first month, it was not getting me anywhere, that motivation. And then it was basically, I tried really hard to think that, okay, why am I actually doing this? You know, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? It was really hard to like actually come up with the answer. And then the answer was basically to prove to myself and a little bit to my parents, but mostly to myself, that I could do something like this, you know, that I'm not just academically good, that I can actually do something that I set my mind to. And that's what pushed me to mentally prepare myself. And mentally, I feel like since I was a kid, I've always been able to do something that I really wanted to do. Like when I was at a younger age and I was like, you know, overweight, I really wanted to lose weight. Every morning I'd wake up at like 4:45 to exercise before school, because after school I didn't have time. So I would do that every day because I really wanted to, you know, lose weight. So I've always had that mental preparation in me. But on the actual trek, my parents, when it got really hard, and my mom's friend Anushka, she was there with me. They would push me and we'd push each other to help, that, oh, only this much. We've done so much, you know, we can do this. And yeah.
That's amazing. And so describe the actual trek that, you know, to the base camp. What was the most challenging and rewarding moments of this journey?
So the actual journey in the beginning was really hard, you know, 8 hours, 12 hours, up, down. We had to follow this thing called Nepali flat, and I figured out the formula. So it was like whenever there's a down, we'll always have to go up, but whenever there's an up, we never get to go down. So I just had to deal with it. But it was really cool to see the culture, the way people lived. They were so simple. They didn't have phones, they didn't have electricity, they barely even had, you know, like chips and Coca-Cola, and that was only in like Lukla, and that did not continue till, you know, the end. But basically in the trek, it was hard physically. First it was physically hard, and after that, you know, I'd gotten used to the strenuous treks. Then it became more mental, like, oh, there's so much pain, there's cramps, there's headaches, how do I go? And then I still remember when we were in our second last stop, where we had to do our final stretch. When I came there was a TV. There was a TV.
There's a TV there?
Yeah, there was a TV. And it was playing some movie, and I was just so tired, and I just kept staring at that TV, and for a second I just like forgot about the trek and just relaxed for a minute. And from there I got a bit rejuvenated, and then I continued the trek. But honestly, the first stretch is physical, and after that it got mental. But the scenery, oh, it was lovely. And we got snow, and I've never seen snow in my entire life before this. So you know, me and my my mom and my Anushka auntie, they were behind, so sometimes I'd leave like messages for them in the snow.
Oh,
and
that's so cute.
Yeah, and at one point I started missing my sister a lot. Like I would sometimes cry that, oh, she's not here. So I used to write her name in the sand like everywhere I went. And then, one time our dad went ahead of us. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I wrote notes for him, realizing that I'm actually after him. So he's not reading the notes, but
it's okay. It's there.
Yeah, it was
it's there in spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your sister would appreciate the fact that even the notes are there for her in spirit.
Yeah.
So that when she goes and does that journey, she'll find those notes.
On the snow, maybe.
Never know. You never know. And what kind of support did you have from your family, friends, mentors, teachers during your training and the trek?
So, my teachers didn't really play that big of a role because they didn't really know. My mentors were my parents. They were the ones that pushed me, and they were kind of the reason I was doing it for myself and them, that I couldn't let them down. That, when we go there, it's not just my dream, it's my dad's dream, it's my mom's dream, and it's Anushka auntie's dream. I can't just give up, because if one of us gives up, then somebody else's trek is going to be ruined, and I can't do that. So that came in the later part. First, it was for myself, that, I have to push myself. But basically, they were the ones who motivated me. My dad, he's the reason I was able to actually go. He believed in me. He said, yeah, you can do it. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. And my mom, she's the one who helped me understand how to do it. She was there with me. And along the trek, I think I connected with my dad the most, because I would usually walk with him, and then we talk about, plans for the future, uni and all of that.
So that's amazing, actually. And so I know you mentioned a bit about this, but share some unique experiences or observations from the trek, like the landscape, the local culture, any people you might have encountered that you still remember.
Yeah, okay, so not as much as a person, but there was a few restaurants or like guest houses there where we got like really delicious food, but I'll get to that later. So basically over there, the scenery was amazing, and we even saw like cherry blossoms. And
you saw cherry blossoms?
Yeah,
which everybody thinks is in Japan, huh?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I was really surprised. We took like a bunch of pictures there, and then my dad's like, come on, we have to go. But there were these yaks that I used to just use as an adjective to describe my friends, whenever we were having a laugh. Like, I actually saw them, and they were like, one time I saw, I think he was a man, he was walking in front of us, a yak almost like had a go at him. He was like with his horns and everything. It was actually really funny. It was scary at the same time, but it was cool to see the culture. People were carrying, like the Sherpas, they were carrying such huge loads, like maybe 200 kgs on their backs, and they were going up and down with flip-flops.
And here you are all dressed up, right?
Yeah, all dressed up and wearing my 5 layers of clothes and special boots, and I'm watching them go up with like it was nothing, like it was a jog in the park or something.
That's a big shout out and thank you to all the Sherpas who help people achieve these dreams, not only to the base camp but also to different mountains like Mount Everest, K2. Because when I watch documentaries, usually the documentaries focused on a person's journey.
Yeah.
But I think the most engaging documentary I saw was on the life of a Sherpa.
Yeah.
Because what they help others achieve, they do it multiple times, and yet they're not acknowledged.
They're not acknowledged. Actually, it's a very interesting theory. What if the first person to climb Mount Everest was not actually the man they've made a documentary on?
There's actually a theory on it.
What if it was a Sherpa or
There's
someone?
actually a whole theory on that.
Yeah.
That it could have been a Sherpa.
It probably was, like where we were getting our last minute, stuff from, like our sticks, our hats, that kind of stuff. There was this, he was not really a Sherpa, but he had climbed Everest, the full Everest 3 times, and 1 time without oxygen tanks.
Wow.
And it was amazing to see that someone was capable of that, and it was honestly amazing.
So I think there's a person, and I think my facts might be wrong, but we'll probably check it. There's a person who's climbed Everest, I think about 20 or 30 times. Like he's taken that many groups up and down.
Yeah, there's probably like our guide where he was taking us. He told us he'd been to EBC 100 times or maybe above 50. It was definitely a number above 50, and it's like these people aren't acknowledged, and it was amazing to see that they don't really care. They live a very simple life. Like everybody was happy. They were living, a very harmonious life without gadgets, and it was they had this, food is called dal bhat, and we had to eat that every time. So there was this one restaurant where they made amazing dal bhat. Like the dal was amazing. Genuinely, the one thing that I cannot eat anymore is like there were these green leafy vegetables with the dal bhat that I ate so many times. I cannot even look at it. When I eat Chinese food now, I have to like put it to the side.
Yeah.
I have to put it to the side because I can't even look at it. It's so sickening.
There's too much of you right now and then.
It's too much right now. Like I can't.
Oh.
But when we were coming down, there was also this restaurant where there was this chef from Delhi, and he made us, aloo with tadka and lacha parantha, and it was so good. It was like the first meal that I had in ages that was like proper with spices, and there was not dal. We had like pasta and momos and fried rice, which I also cannot eat anymore, but we had that also along the trip, but not as much as dal bhat.
It's amazing when you say that, because the most simplest of food is the most delicious.
Yeah.
So I remember, I think I was in Thailand, and they had this temple, Buddhist temple.
Yeah.
And the Buddhist food does not have onion, garlic, spices. It didn't have much. But I'm telling you, till today, I remember that taste, which I can't find. Because that temple food is the most delicious food.
Yeah,
like it has nothing in it.
Yeah, I personally love, I told my parents, I've told my tutors, everyone, that I love Gurdwara food. It is so good.
100%.
So good that
it's made out of love. I think that's the most beautiful ingredient, and I think that's why you remember the food from the trek.
It was,
because every single person made it out of love.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. And Sanchi, what's the one thing you learned about yourself physically? Like, what did you learn about your physical limitations?
I think I definitely crossed them. Like before that, I did not even in my wildest dreams think I could achieve EBC or even have a thought about it. Like I didn't even think, I could, run 5K or climb 400 floors or with a 5 kg backpack in under an hour or something. Like I did not think that I could push myself to those limits, but now those boundaries have been set with me, and sky's the limit. And I basically discovered that if I do actually set my mind to something, I can do it, and it's not impossible to achieve if you have the right mindset.
That's a very amazing thing to say. Very, very nice. So Sanchi, we have a section. It's called Did You Know? I want 3 things your friends don't know about you.
Well, okay. Let's see. Like maybe 3 things my friends don't know about me.
It might be a dream that they don't know about.
I'm pretty much an open book, but maybe I'm not as much of a nerd as they think I am.
Okay.
And I do enjoy myself once in a while, And I do say this a lot that I hate basketball, but basketball is not all that bad. I can play well if I want. And a third thing, I don't like gingerbread. I hate gingerbread. They don't know that because everybody loves gingerbread, but I hate gingerbread. I cannot stand gingerbread.
That's okay. Whatever works for you. Seriously. So, I used to be in advertising before, so I always ask crazy questions. All right. Your journey can serve as an inspiration to other young people. What advice would you give to teens who are interested in pursuing challenging adventures or goals? So I'm going to end this on a serious note because normally I ask funny questions, but I think with yours, I want people not only your age, but even people my age to get inspired. I mean, what advice would you give us?
Honestly, big goals can be achieved. I'm just going to give my dad's advice because that's what pushed me to do EBC. Dream big, but work hard to achieve it. Like, if you don't dream big, then you'll never truly know what you're capable of. And if you really want to do it, then you can. then you can do it. Be it academic, be it sports, be it writing a book, be it as simple as, I don't know, making a dance routine. But if you want to do it, then you can do it.
So do you think I can climb up to the base camp?
I think you can.
Okay.
If you really want to, I think you can.
All right. And with that note, and with a dream in my eyes of climbing up to the base camp of Mount Everest, and being surrounded by that beautiful scenery of Himalayas, which I'm sure your mom is going to paint. I am so sure of it. And we'll end on that. Thank you so much, Sanchi, for all your time and sharing this beautiful experience with us. And I hope that people actually learn to dream big and go focused after their dreams with a plan.
Yeah. Always make a plan.
And we'll make a plan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and wishing you all the very best. And with that, we sign off this beautiful episode from the mountains of Himalaya, living in Dubai. This is Leena from artosart.com saying have a great evening, and we will see you soon.